Civilization 5 came out in the year 2010, but don't click away, that's actually not a bad thing. Although I would encourage you to reflect on what you were doing in 2010. I'll save my reflections for another day. However, the year now is 2021, 11 years after its release, and I argue that Civilization 5 is great, if not brilliant, still to this day, over a decade after its release. Let's delve into why. For starters, I think that the game has proven itself to be a strategy game staple. And we can tell if we look at the numbers for players on Steam. You can see that even now, with Civilization 6 being a really well-established, solid entrance into the franchise, releasing in 2016, and still having content being released for it in 2021, yet Civilization 5 still has roughly 1/3 the number of active players every day on Steam, and makes it into roughly the top 20, top 25 games day after day after day. It has a proven sticking power, for reasons I'm going to describe. First up, I think we have to consider the fact that Civilization 5 has a graphical style that is not particularly controversial. It's quite simple, it's quite straightforward, and palatable for most people. Is it as vibrant as something like Civilization 6? No. Is it as hardcore as something like Old World or perhaps Crusader Kings? No. But it's very straightforward, it's very palatable, and it's quite nice. And I think regardless of what you think about Civ 6's graphics, you can't deny, looking at this game, it's quite easy to look at, okay? It's not hitting a home run, but it's easy to look at. It really is. And that, I think, matters to a lot of players when you're staring at this game board for hours and hours. Which brings me through into gameplay, and I think that Civilization 5 has done such an incredible job at maintaining its relevance despite being over a decade old. Now, of course, the game was updated, releasing, a couple of DLC packs, God and Kings, and Brave New World. The Civ 5 did have a life cycle of around 4 years until its completion, shall we say. But still, I think it's fair to say that even if we take it from that point, this is an older game, most definitely. Yet, it has such an incredible sticking power with its gameplay, okay? It possesses almost everything that players love about strategy games in general. Now, of course, it's not going to please everyone, but, for example, there's a technology tree that players like and respect. There's a cultural policies, sort of branching trees with different decisions and priorities to be made. Again, this is a concept we're still seeing in modern games. Likewise, when you think of faith generation, you think of resources, you think of how you control the map. You think of Civ 5's ability to let you play wide or tall. You could build one mega city or build 10 smaller cities and play a great game regardless. All of these gameplay features are features that have stayed true not just to the Civ series, but have inspired a raft of other games, or at least led into the development of a raft of other games, right? We need only look to games like Humankind, Old World, of course, Civilization 6, and many others to see the lasting impact that the really significant gameplay features of Civilization 5 have had on the franchise as a whole. Now you might think, okay, so it had a lasting impact, good for it. I've moved on, I'm playing more modern things, I'm playing Civ 6, and that's great. But let me tell you why I think, actually, you should be playing both. Why not play both? I think you should really embrace Civilization 5 for its challenging but simple gameplay mechanics, okay? And I am going to compare it a little bit to Civilization 6 here, but I don't mean this in any way to take away from Civ 6. Civ 6's experience is unique and different, but I think that Civ 5's strikes a really great balance. So in Civilization 5, you don't build districts, and so you do miss out on that sort of flexibility, that more natural growth of seeing a city grow out, aside from building tile improvements and connecting it to other cities. And of course, the actual tile that the city itself is on will change, but you don't get that sort of dynamic additions to the map, other than tile improvements like this, as I say. However, not having districts and not having the complexities of adjacency bonuses that really, frankly, a lot of players just don't understand. Or not having the limitations of the district system, i.e., a 7-pop city can have 3 districts and then a 10-pop city can have 4. In Civilization 5, while you don't have the flexibility of seeing a city sprawl out over the map, you do have flexibility in terms of that you're not limited and prescribed by a district system that actually can be a little bit limiting to gameplay features. In Civilization 5, the most limited you can get in a city is probably something like, I don't know, to build an observatory, you have to have your city next to a mountain. That's about as restricting as it gets. And that's really an example at quite the extreme level of city restrictions. Whereas in Civilization 6, that would be a fairly normal restriction, in terms of adjacency bonuses anyway, right? You can put a campus where you want, but if you're not putting it next to a few mountains or something like that, you're not really doing it any kind of justice, particularly in the early game. Now, it wouldn't be fair to reflect on why Civilization 5 is still a fantastic, brilliant, playable game in 2021 without reflecting and acknowledging the incredible efforts of the Civ 5 community. As I discussed at the beginning of the video, the Civilization 5 community is still incredibly active, but it's not just in terms of player count. Actually, it's much more than that. You see, Civilization 5 has a really, really impressive community of dedicated fans who are also very skilled in modding. Very skilled. Have a look at these numbers. Look on the side of the screen. Look at how many mods are available for Civilization 5 on the Steam Workshop here, front page alone. Okay, and are they all fantastic? Well, probably not. But, man, they cover their bases. Everything. You can entirely change Civilization 5 using these mods and run a really stable, playable, and if you want it to be, incredibly balanced experience. And I don't mean that in the lol perfectly balanced way. I actually mean that some of these mods, many players would argue, significantly improve the Civ 5 experience. You've got simple things like changing the UI, changing the graphics, so on and so forth, making a few things more easy to read or understand, right? Really fundamental good things. You have so many civs that have been added and modded into the game. If you are ever bored and you ever think, oh man, I wish X civilization or Y culture was in the game, there'll be a mod for it. I guarantee you. Have a look through the civs that you can download and play as. Now, they're not all perfectly balanced, but they're really fun, really creative. But really, ultimately, where the Civilization 5 modding community perhaps offers its greatest strength, and one of the reasons why Civ 5 is still played to this day, is the significant gameplay, like entirely adjusting mods. These things that completely rebalance the game, right? They entirely change the cultural, social policy trees. They entirely rebalance where buildings are unlocked. They entirely rebalance other things like the strength of in-game units. They entirely change the unique abilities of civs, adding new luxuries, new tiles, new features to the map. I'm talking mods like Vox Populi, which actually entirely change the game. And so if you're a player who thinks, yeah, Civ, it's cool, Civ 5, but maybe it's a bit old. Or you think, yeah, Civ 5 is cool, but it's been out for 10 years now, Jumbo. More than that. I'm done with Civ 5. I would encourage you to look to the community, to look to the Steam Workshop, and find a new mod to play, because these things are really, really impressive. I was a purist for a long time, to speak personally for a second. I thought that, no, I just want to play the raw experience. I don't want to change anything completely as developer intended. I tend to be like that with a lot of my games. I want to experience them the way they were intended, was my logic. However, man, was I wrong. The Civilization 5 by itself is fantastic, don't get me wrong. Right here I'm playing it. When I live stream it, I play the base game with the DLC, unmodded. When I record my guides, they're an unmodded experience. I'm perfectly happy with the game as is. But if you're looking for more, or you're looking for change, look no further than the Steam community and the fantastic ongoing support for mods in this game. Thank you very much for watching this video essay reflecting on why Civilization 5 is still brilliant in 2021. If you enjoyed it, please do consider leaving a like rating, and I'd really love to hear from you. What have I missed? I'm thinking about doing more of an objective analytical review of Civ 5, which hilariously is something I've never done. So if you're interested in that, I would love to incorporate some feedback. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.